More that women chase equality, then I expect you to advocate for women to have just as much representation in the military, being drafted in the war, working dangerous jobs. You don't get to be the first off the Titanic. You don't get to be protected by men. If you really want equality, life isn't fair. Men and women are not equal.
If there was a war, we would be drafted and you guys would be exempt. And you are exempt from having to register with the selective
Can I have
service.
another example other than the draft? With systemic.
We're more likely to be victims of police killings and police shootings and police brutality. We're more likely to be incarcerated. We're more likely to delete ourselves. We're less likely to get sponsorships for college. We're less likely to go to college. More likely to be homeless. That's a few.
It's as the guy just said in the clip. If there is a war, men would be the first ones to be drafted and women would be exempt from it. Men are more likely to perform dangerous jobs that build the infrastructure around us. Men are more likely to get incarcerated. Men are more likely to be victims of police brutality, and they're more likely to not receive sponsorships and scholarships for college and universities. So it's unreal when modern women flip when you talk about them being treated with equality. The whole talk about equality seems like it's only meant for women to receive selective equality. You see, women want equality, but they want to put in the work behind it. For example, you still won't see any women lining up to be part of the construction industry. They're going to talk about equality so that they can only become CEOs and board members of organizations in the construction industry. They're going to talk about being in the armed forces, but only as heads of organizations in the defense industry. They're going to talk about equality in the government, but only want to be the leaders of government organizations. It seems equality for women is about taking control and taking over positions held by men who have dedicated their lives and climbed the ladder by sacrificing their everything just in an ultra-competitive world. Modern feminine women are also promoting a dangerous narrative, which is that they believe they can function in societies without any men in those societies. This is a dangerous narrative because it will misinform young women about how they can do that without ever having to work for it. Will these women work in the sewers? Will they work in the mining industry? Will they literally work in deplorable conditions that men work in just so they can feed their wives and children? Or is just the CEO that modern women want to emulate and look at? Why the hypocrisy? Why selective equality? Truth be told, this isn't equality. It's gender politics for domination while using whole generations of innocent women as pawns. Males are expected to carry out more work while giving women a more significant portion of the benefits. It is challenging for the women who are battling for equality now that some men have realized this and are backing off. If males are told that they are needed because they are expected to accomplish much more than their fair part and provide women with at least half of the wealth, they will be able to recognize when they are being exploited. Contrary to what some women might argue, if men actually were absolutely equal to women, more men would choose their own path and go their own way, which is not something that women are happy with either. Why do I say this? Because if men and women were actually equal, then men really will have to be competing and living with women who will have the characteristic of men. And that's not something that men like in women. That's not something that all women can be like, to be honest. What about being feminine? Is that a dying concept now? With the promise of freedom from males, feminism has devastated the majority of Western women. Women need males more than they realized because they are unhappy at work and are turning into crazy, lonesome cat ladies, but they won't confess it as long as it is taboo to do so. In the future decades, as our culture gets more conservative, they will eventually come to recognize it. Then, rather than saying they need males because it's true, women will claim they do because it's fashionable to do so. When ladies scream out for males to assist them, a lot of men will genuinely respond and come to their aid, restoring the supposedly traditional connection. Once they appeal to men to assist them, neo-traditionalism will make a comeback. Then it's likely that many men will respond to their appeals and come to assist them. In exchange, they'll receive conventional relationships, and a new variety of neo-traditionalism will manifest itself. Women will suddenly claim to care about males in this scenario, thereby forcing men back to the negotiating table. And so, it's incredibly unjustified when women say things such as what men bring to the table. Well, we probably built the table, and we probably farmed all the meat and the vegetables that are going on your plate that's on the table. He said we also probably worked on the water mains that enable you to fill up your kettle or have a glass of water with your food that we farmed to put on the table that we built. Or maybe you want a beer with the dinner from the food that we farmed on the table that we built. Well, we probably worked at the breweries to produce that beer that you can drink to eat with the food that we farmed on the table that we built now. Right now, it's raining outside, so I would much rather eat my food that's been farmed by men on the table that's been built by men indoors who built this house. Men laid the foundations for the male bricklayers to build a house that the male roofers could put a roof on, so then you and I and everyone else could eat their dinner farmed by men. He continued and said, drink the drink that's been produced by men on the table that's been built by men. So I think we bring more than enough to the table. Throughout their lives, men are supposed to do everything for women and literally dedicate their lives to providing for, protecting, and helping women. And you know what? Men do that with a lot of joy, and it brings them a lot of satisfaction when they know they're being the providers. It gives them a solid purpose because they know they're doing justice to what the universe meant for them to do. They do it proudly because that's in their nature. I'm talking about high-value men, not a simp who starts crying if he gets rejected by a girl. But the question is, why do women expect everything from a man, especially when all they can do now is talk about equality and how men have oppressed and controlled them? It's quite true that modern women have become too entitled. I hope that women realize the hypocrisy with which they live, expecting everything to be taken care of on one hand, and then marching the streets with banners for equality on the other. One thing is for sure, though. Manipulation is the primary tool that modern women have and use against men. They've been used to it since their teenage years and will continue to use it till their last breath. They will try to use your emotions against you in order to fulfill their own wishes because, as we all know, they feel entitled. They will try to manipulate you into buying them gifts, into being okay with them seeing other people, into moving closer to where they work, and into believing in whatever they want you to believe. There's no end to it, and it frequently succeeds with weak men. They are primarily chasing one thing, and they will put up with abuse solely for the sake of that one thing, which we all know. Thus, they fall for the manipulative tactics of women, both intentionally and unknowingly. As I said, women's entitlement is unwarranted, and men really don't need to sugarcoat things for women anymore because they've clearly got the wrong idea about their role in modern society. Men need to make sure to put a woman in her place if she makes any unwarranted or untrue claim based on her overly inflated ego and entitlement. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. And let us know your thoughts on this in the comments. We're always up for a healthy debate and discussion.